Hi everyone, welcome back. In today's tutorial, we're going to explore something that's going to change how you make educational content, especially if you love geography and automation. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to build an AI agent in n8n that can fully automate the creation of AI-powered geography videos, from generating the voiceovers and animated visuals to writing titles, descriptions, and even the voiceover script. I'm going to walk you through step by step how to do this in n8n. So whether you are building a faceless YouTube channel, or you are creating a learning tool, or you just want to scale your content with AI, then you'd want to stick around to the end of this tutorial, because this workflow would save you hours while keeping your videos informative and visually engaging as well. Let's get started. Okay, so first things first, let me show you an output of the workflow so that you have an idea of what the video looks like.
Deep within the sprawling Amazon rainforest, isolated indigenous tribes continue to live in harmony with nature, largely untouched by the outside world.
So let's go back into our n8n workflow, and then I'm going to start with my trigger. So I'm just using a Google Sheets trigger. So I do have a Google Sheets which I created here, and I called it geography. And once I have my Google Sheets trigger and everything set up, this part of my workflow is where I generate the videos and the images as well. So in terms of generating the images, I'm using like Google APIs, and then since the images are given to me in a base 64 string, I'm converting them into like a file so that it looks more like an image. I'm using Runway ML to generate the videos and do all the animations and all that. And then once the videos are generated, I save them to file. And then below here is where I have my voiceover and then the subtitles. So you could see that in the video, I did have like some subtitles in the videos. So this is where I have all the subtitles generated. Okay, so in terms of like the voiceover script, I'm using ElevenLabs, and ElevenLabs does have like a generous free version that you could try out. I think you get about 10,000 credits for free, which you could basically leverage. So that's what I'm using. I put in this merge node because I just want to make sure that everything is received before they come into the combined video node, which is an execute command and node I'm using, because if you don't do that, then it's probably gonna fail. So I'm using this merge command here to sort of like wait for all these other processes to finish before it comes in here. Once this is combined, I read the output from file and then I post it onto YouTube. There are other improvements I see with this workflow. You could also have like a human in the loop. So maybe you may have a node in here that, once the videos are ready, can you notify me in, let's say, Telegram or via email, so that you go check it out first before it's posted onto your YouTube channel. You don't need to just post this onto your YouTube channel. You can also post this onto LinkedIn or other social media platform. I'm going to show you exactly how I built this step by step. So let's get started. So first things first, you need to have like a new n8n workflow. And like I mentioned, I'm using a Google Sheets trigger. So that will be my first step in here. And I'm going to say on row added or updated. Okay. And then from lists, like I mentioned, I already have a file I created in Google Sheets called geography, and then I'm working off sheet 1. You can decide to set the columns you want to watch, but then I don't need to set that. Okay, so I'm just gonna like leave that, and that's fine for us. And then I'm gonna add in a code node in here, and basically what this code node does is that it's just picking off like the last item from the spreadsheet, because eventually the spreadsheet is gonna be populated, and you want to make sure that you're not like repeating videos. You want to make sure that you're only using the latest one. So I'm gonna come in here, select a code node, and then I'm gonna paste this exact code in here. And like I mentioned, don't worry, I am gonna drop the template in the description box so that you can go download it yourself as well and use it and try it out. Let me know what you're able to create on top of this. Okay, and if I should execute this node right now, you'd see that it would return like a tiger, which is like the last item I have in my spreadsheet. So you can see we have tiger, right? All these other ones have not been populated for us, just because we're gonna use our model to dynamically create all of these. So this is fine. So the next step is where we add in our model, and for our model, I'm just gonna come in here and I'm gonna select AI agent, and in here all I'm gonna be using is, I'm just gonna say like just respond to this prompt according to the instruction. And then in the system message, this is where the real deal happens. This is where you have to give all the instructions. So in the system message, this is exactly what I'm going for. And like in the system message, it can be, depending on the fields you want to have in here, you can really define it exactly how you want. Okay, so in here I'm like like you're a helpful AI assistant designed to generate creative assets for short educational videos on geography based on this topic. And really the topic is this one, which has been dragged in here. And I say like your job is to generate a title, and I'm given what my requirements for a title should look like, a description, which is really like 2 to 3 sentence description, and I also have in here like a voiceover script, and as well as an image prompt and a video animation prompt. So all these things are things that I need for my video to work. Okay, and then once you have it in here, another thing I want to do is I want to require like a specific output, because I want to define the type of output I get. So once you have a specific output turned on, then you need to make sure that you connect an output parser. So in the output parser, I'm just going for a structured JSON parser, and I'm going to provide the structure of the JSON I want. Okay, so this is a structure of the JSON I'm going for, and now I'm going to connect my chat model. So my chat model, I'm using Gemini. You can use OpenAI. I believe for OpenAI you need to pay for it, so that's why I'm using Gemini, because I do understand that not everybody is ready to pay for stuff. They just want to like try it out and see how it works. Okay, so this is cheap and cheerful. Okay, you can use this, and just make sure that you are on one of the latest versions. So I'm gonna see, I'm probably gonna go for 2.5 flash preview. I believe that's like the latest version we have here. And then in terms of options, I'm not gonna set anything. If you are going to be releasing this in production, then I recommend that you set something. Okay, if you are not releasing this in production, like if you're just trying it out, then that's fine. But if you're gonna release this in production, then for the simple memory, I'm gonna see if I can get any ID in here that's here. So we have an ID here, so I'm probably gonna be using this ID in the workflow. Okay, so the reason why we are putting this, so that we always remember this session. So I'm putting this ID in here, and then we are good for this standpoint. If I should execute this right now, and you see that would have our output and everything created for us. So let me run this now and let's see. Okay, so as you can see, our output has been generated for us. We have the title, the description, voiceover script, image prompts, and video animation prompts. This is really good for us. Okay, yeah, so now let's move on. So now that we have our titles and everything ready, what we want to do is we want to store all these fields. Okay, I'm going to store all these fields. I'm going to be using a sets field, and so I'm going to say sets, and then it's going to give me this field, and I'm going to like manually create this field. So we want a title, and then for the title we're using this one, and then the next field we want a description field. So we have a description field in here. The reason why you would want to use a sets node is because you just want things to be a lot more cleaner. Sometimes you may get a lot of outputs, values and output fields, and maybe you don't really need all of them. Okay, so you just pass whatever you need. So for the image generation side of things, what we want to do is we are putting in a Google Sheet in here. Once it generates the images and all those things, we want to like populate it into our Google Sheet. And then I'm just gonna come in here and I'm gonna select update row in spreadsheet, and then I'm gonna select the exact spreadsheet I want, which is a geography spreadsheet. And then from the list we want sheet 1, and then the column to match on, we're gonna match on the item. So now that we have our Google Sheet populated, the next thing is you are probably going to add a code node, because what happens is that when you are passing the image prompts, sometimes they may have like commas and apostrophes, and all that would affect the whole like JSON code. So I just want to escape those apostrophes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a code in here. So this is the code which I'm adding. And also, if you're new, you're getting started in building AI agents and you need some help, just hit me up. I train a lot of people. I teach a lot of people on how to like get started with AI agents. So if you are also let's say a business owner and you need some automations, know that I build AI agents for coaches, founders, business owners, so I can always help you with that. This is where we add our HTTP node for the Google side of things, where we are able to like generate the images and all that. Let me just show you what's going on in here. We are passing in the image prompt from the previous workflow. I'll take a pause and run the entire workflow so that you have an idea of what's working and what's not working. And then you need to put in your key, and then yeah, that should be good. You have your URL. I'm also gonna leave a link to like this Google API reference documentation as well, so that you can go check it out. So this is all that's happening in the Google node. So this will generate the image for us, but remember I mentioned that it's gonna generate the image in like base 64. So you want to have like a convert file here. So just gonna convert to file. We are moving a base 64 string to file, and in this format here. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna save this workflow and I'm gonna execute the entire thing. What we are expecting to see is just an image. Okay, so our image has been generated for us. Let's see what our output of our image looks like. So the next step is to store this file in Google Drive, okay? As for the title, gonna drag the title from our edit field node that we created, and then that will be the title, and it's gonna store in our Google Drive. And then once this is stored, the other thing I want to do is I want to update the permissions, because I want to use the Runway ML API to sort of like pick the images from this, because you need to provide like a link on where the images are stored, right? So I'm gonna expose this and give like viewer access so that the Runway ML APIs can access it. If you are doing this in production, you have to think of a more smarter security move rather than this one. And then once we have this done, the next step for us is to like call Runway ML. So I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna use the HTTP node. And if you go through the Runway ML API documentation, you can see that these are the things you need. You need to have a prompt image, you need to have the seed, the model, the duration, keeping the duration to 10 seconds, the ratio, content, you need all this. So you can just come in here and copy the call code, and then you insert the call code along with your API keys. I know that it typically takes about 2 minutes to generate the images, so I'm gonna put in a 2 minutes wait node in here. Once it's created, I can just get details of the video. So if you come into the API documentation, there's this documentation about getting the task detail, and that requires the ID, okay? And the ID is gotten from the previous step. So that's why I'm attaching the ID in here. I'm gonna run this entire workflow now so that you see what we get with the video as well. Okay, so you see the ID has been generated here. So this ID is then gonna be passed in here so that we get the status, or we get a video that was generated. And once this is done, we would have to add in like an if else statement to sort of say that if the video has succeeded, then move on to do the next thing. Okay, so we'll just be taking the status while we wait for the video to run. And then in terms of the value, once it runs and is successful, you'd have this value called succeeded. So that's all we are checking for. We just want to check the status and see if the video is succeeded. All we have to do is just like download the video, and then we save the video to a file, and we could also upload it to Google Drive. Okay, so maybe I can add in here, and then I'll add a drive node. Okay, so as you can see, the video has been generated for us. So this is where the output is. So if I should copy this link and I should paste this in, let's say Google, be able to see that the video has been generated for us here. So this is good. So we can move on to the next step. So like I mentioned already, once the video is created, we have an if else statement here that's checking if it's succeeded, because the output provides us with a status, right? So the status is succeeded, which in this case it is. So we have to upload the file onto Google Drive just so we can store a copy of it. Otherwise, you can just go ahead and just download the file and then save the file to disk. So you can see that the Google Drive node here is complaining, and that's because we don't have an item in here. So I'm just gonna drag the title in here as the file name, and where I want to keep this is in the geography folder that I created. So this is good. So from what I can see, we can't directly store this in Google Drive this way. What we can do though is we could bring in the branch from the side in here. That way, when this file is downloaded, it's gonna be downloaded into a binary file called video file. We're gonna put this in here. The input data name would be video file, and then while we save to disk, we can also upload to Google Drive. So that's fine. This is working as we expect it to. So this is actually good. So I'm just gonna save this. We are working on the next part of the workflow, which basically deals with the voiceover script as well as the captions. So for that, for the voiceover, like I mentioned earlier on, we're gonna be using ElevenLabs. So what we wanna do is, since we already created a voiceover script in this field, what we're gonna do is we're gonna drag it from this side. So we're gonna add a node that would basically connect to ElevenLabs for us, okay? So we're gonna be using the HTTP node, and all you have to do is like, and just click this, and then it open the HTTP node for you. And then what you have to do is really drag this HTTP node and drag the link from the edit field into this HTTP node. So if you come into the ElevenLabs API documentation, as you can see, we have the text to speech, we have the speech to text, and we have the text to dialogue. So what we want and what we are looking for is the text to speech, because we already have the voiceover script. So you come into text to speech and you click on create speech, you have exactly what's needed. So you need a voice ID, the API key, and you need a few other things. So yeah, so that has already been given to us. So what we just want to do is we just going to populate all those ones. So we want to choose the output format, and we also want to enter in the API key as well as what the text would be. So the text really would be a voiceover script here, which I'm just going to drag here. And then we already have the model ID, and we want the file that we get to be called speech file. So that's what we want. So I'm going to keep it as this. And then once we have this, the next step is we want to write the output that would get from ElevenLabs to file. Remember, we want to combine everything using FFmpeg, so it makes sense for us to write everything to file so that we can use the execute command to execute the video file we have already, as well as the voiceover script and the captions. So now that we have this, just want to save to file. So I'm going to add a write file node in here, and inside this node, all I want to do is I just want to save this file into this directory inside n8n, which I already have. And the input file would be like the speech file new that we're going to get from the previous node. And once this is saved into memory, we want to now read the file. So again, in order to read the file, I'm going to add another read node essentially for that. And so this is the exact configuration that I'm going for. I just want to read the file that was saved, so which is the speech file that was already saved in the directory. And I mean, as an improvement to this template, you can, before you actually read, you can always check if the file has been saved in a directory. In order to check, you can basically use like a code node to check, okay? So now that we have that done, what we're going to do next is we're going to use ElevenLabs to generate the captions. And in order to generate the captions, I mean, if you've been editing in CapCut, then you know that captions are downloaded as SLT files, okay? Which is why we are using the speech to text feature from ElevenLabs, because we want to basically generate an SLT file, which should serve as our caption file. So if I come again into ElevenLabs here, and for this, I believe you would be able to use like a different tool. Since I'm already working in ElevenLabs, I just decided to use ElevenLabs for that. So if I come in here and I select speech to text, as you can see, you can basically create a transcript, so you can transcribe an audio or video file. So this works. So what you have to do is you can just basically copy this code and then you upload it into your HTTP node. So I'm going to show you exactly how the configuration looks like. Okay, so this is the configuration we are going for. Again, you need to enter your API key, the model ID, the data we got from the previous step, and the format you want should be SLT. And if you come into the API documentation, you could see that they have multiple formats. So if you come under additional formats, they have like HTML, XLT, and in the XLT you have like this one, and then there are other things you can set as well in the SLT format. So that's what we're going for, and that looks good up until this point. Once we have our captions generated, I think I'm just gonna run the entire workflow so that we have an idea of like what we get. But before I run the workflow, I just want to add in a few more steps, okay, so that we get to a point that makes it a lot more reasonable to run a workflow. So once we have this generated for us, the next step would be to store the captions in like a file. Okay, so let me first run this entire workflow so that I have an idea of what the output will look like. Okay, so we have our output ready for us. As you can see, the text is here, and then we have our SLT file generated for us. We also have our voice over script generated for us. If I should play this,
In the jungles of India to the snowy forests of Russia, tigers are incredible survivors. These powerful big cats call diverse Asian land.
the other thing I could have done is once this is sort of like downloaded, I could also just add like a Google Drive node as well, so that this is sort of like also uploaded to Google Drive. So let me do that. Let me just add a Google Drive node as well, so that at least I get to store that as well. So for file name, I'll use the title. So I'll just use the title that was generated from the previous step, and then where I wanted to store would be in the geography folder. Okay, so that way I know that my file is also stored in Google as well for me. So this is looking good now. We know that we have our output. So once this is generated, we can see that our captions are stored in this part, which is the SLT part of everything. So this is looking good. So if I should scroll down, yeah, what I'll be looking for is the content, okay, because that has everything I need. All right, I'm going to use a sets field, and I'm going to capture the captions in the sets field. Let me come here, and then I'm just going to click on the node, and then I'm going to use a sets node. And in here, all I'm doing is I'm just dragging the additional formats from here, the one that contains the SLT file I need. I'm going to drag it under objects in here. So this is all I'm dragging, this one. in here, and this is looking good. And I'm gonna also add a code node, and all I want to do is I'm just trying to create a file called captions. I'm just trying to clean up the data I get, right, just so it doesn't cause a lot of issues down the line code. And like I mentioned earlier on, don't worry, I'm gonna make sure that I drop the template so that you can also like have access to it. And then I'll rather save this cleaned up file to disk. Okay, so I'm not gonna save just this alpha, I'm now gonna save this cleaned up file I have in here to disk. By doing that, I'm just gonna add a write node in here, and I'm gonna save it to disk, and I'm gonna call it captions.srt. So this captions is saved to disk, and our voiceover is also saved to disk. So that's good. I'm gonna include a merge node in here, and the merge node has a lot of benefits. One benefit of the merge node is that it sort of waits. So as you can see, we need all the various inputs we've worked on from the various streams. So we worked on the video input here. So we need this input, we need a voiceover input, and we need a captions input, right? So in order to work on all of these, we need to include a merge node, so that the merge node would allow everything to run before moving on to the next stage. This is some form of checks and balances that we are putting in place just to make sure that we receive everything. Otherwise, it's gonna fail at the end if we don't have like the merge node, because then you would realize that one stream will complete and the other one hasn't completed, and because of that, like the execute command would fail because it wouldn't find the files it's looking for in the directory, which is why it makes sense to have a merge node. So I'm going to drag the output of this one as well. Let me bring this a bit closer and then drag this in here. And then I'm also going to drag the output of this one as well. I'm also going to drag it into the third one in here. So it's looking good now. Let me make it a lot more clear. All right, so we are good now. Yeah, so now that we have this, you could decide to have like a wait node. I'm gonna skip the wait node, and what I'm gonna have in here is an execute command. Okay, and the execute command is what's gonna like do all the magic and combine everything. So we are using the exact execute command, and I'm gonna show you the exact configuration to use for the execute command. So if I should open this, as you can see, I have my speech file new, which is a voiceover script, and then I have my video, which is the video file we just created, and then I also have my caption.slt file, which we also just created. So we are just trying to combine all these three, and in terms of the duration, I don't want it to be more than 15 seconds, and I'm going with like the shortest. Okay, so the shortest is probably going to be the video because I created a very short video. And yeah, this is where all the magic happens. You're able to combine the video, the audio, and the captions. And then once this is done, you should know that you're almost done. Okay, once this is done, you can also add like read node, because you want to post it onto YouTube. YouTube is expecting a binary file, so you can add a read node to sort of like read the file from disk. And since you are naming the file test output.mp4, you are just reading the file, and once you read the file, you'll be able to sort of like post onto YouTube. And there are other additional things you can add on as well. If you want to post onto YouTube, you can do so, or maybe you can add, this is where you could add like a human in the loop just before you post on YouTube. You could probably send yourself a Telegram message, a WhatsApp message, or a message to your email to say that, hey, like your video is ready to be posted on YouTube, can you take a look and just approve? And once you provide your approval, it would auto post onto YouTube. Or for my settings in YouTube, as you can see, like I always unlist them. So what this means is that if it's unlisted, you can always go into YouTube and check. And what you can do is like you can send an email to yourself that, hey, your video has been posted on YouTube, this is the link, can you go check it out? And then you can go check it out, and at that point you can sort of like manually post it and make it public on YouTube. So this is fine. I'm going to execute the enter command because we've done a lot here, and then we'll see what the output looks like on YouTube. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so as you can see, the file has been uploaded onto YouTube. So if I come into YouTube and then I go into my YouTube account, we'll see that we have the file uploaded already.
From the jungles of India to the snowy forests of Russia, tigers are incredible survivors. These powerful big cats call diverse Asian landscapes home.
Okay, that is it for today's tutorial. It was quite a long tutorial, but then I hope it was worth it. Like I mentioned, I'm gonna leave the link to this particular template in the description box so that you can go download it. Let me know if there are other workflows you'd like me to try out. Like I mentioned, if you want a one-on-one session, or if you're a business owner and you're looking to automate some processes, just hit me up, leave a comment, or send me a personal message, and I'll do all to reach out to you. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next one.